Hi guys, welcome back to Elephants in the Room. This is my new studio. I'm so stoked about it. It's still in the works. I have not set up my lighting. I have like a lot of decor that I want to set up and a lot of different ideas for things, but it's crazy. I have like a literal physical space in a house that I'm going to be in for like ever or for a long time. And it's weird and it's crazy and I'm so excited. I just need to breathe because we're going to get into all the things, but I'm so happy to be here with you guys and I hope you guys like my new setup. I did like a really cool green lime wash for the walls because I just want a space that's really cozy and chill and just an environment where I feel like I can open up and people can open up and share their stories and we can talk about all the elephants in the room, which we're gonna do today. So today I wanted to talk about a lot of things, but I really just wanted to do kind of just a catch up with you guys. I feel like I haven't really sat down and just like been vulnerable about my life and also like just kind of caught you guys up. And I feel like I've been super absent. I mean, I've been so inconsistent with this podcast and inconsistent with the episodes. And so I feel like I have kind of just been everywhere all the time. And I thought it would just make sense to do like a formal catch up with you guys. And also I feel like, I think I tend to do this a lot, but I think since this podcast has started, my life has drastically changed. Like you guys know, when I started this podcast, I literally started it in my bedroom. I had like the wall of my 1-bedroom apartment. I put up like $20 Amazon fake brick wallpaper on the wall. It was like stick and peel wallpaper. Bought like a $200 chair from Target. It was $300, but I got it on sale. And I literally filmed everything on my phone. I just turned my phone on 4K and put it in a little ring light and I filmed the episodes on my phone. I was working at a shoe store as a regional manager that I'd been working at for like 3.5, almost 4 years. And my life was so drastically different. I was in Arizona with not really any friends, not really any family there because I'd moved out there for a job. And my life was honestly kind of sad. You know, now looking back, I have a different perspective on it because I think that joy is not what I used to think it was. And like, I don't know, like I used to be the kind of person that was like, once I have this and once this happens and once I'm out of this place and once I'm not working at this job and once I have this amount of money and once whatever, you know, I'll be happy. And, as you guys know, in the last, year and a half, 2 years, a lot of the things that I prayed for, dreamed of have happened. And none of them have been what I thought they were going to be, truly. And none of them have filled any void that I thought they would fill or truly made me a like happier person. I know that may sound ironic or not ironic. I know that may sound strange, but I think we think that a lot of materialistic things, and not just materialistic, but we just have such these ideas that, once we do certain things or are certain places or whatever it be, that like it'll all be good. And it's just not. So, but it's hard because I think when I was living in Arizona and when I was in that space in my life where I felt so discontent and so depressed, truthfully, I looked at people who have some of the things that I have now and are in similar positions than I am now. And I was like, why are they complaining about their lives? Like, why are they struggling? Like, they have it so easy. Like, if I just had money, if I just had this, if I just had that, like, I'd be fine. Not had money, but if I didn't have to stress about money, because my whole life I've always had to stress about money, always, since I was young, Also, my hands are like so dry. I just realized. But I used to look at those people and think like they had it what I wanted, and if I had that I would be content. And all of that to say, so much has changed. And I feel like I've obviously talked about it with you guys, but I think all of that to say, my whole point of saying that was when I started this podcast, I feel like my struggles were so relatable. Like, I feel like I could get on this chair and talk about what I was going through and talk about my life. And like, I felt like you guys would understand me, and I felt like I was valid to share what I was going through and my struggles. Like, it felt validated. I felt like the underdog. I felt like all these things. And now I'm in a position where it's so different. And I know so many people look into my life and they think like, she's so lucky and she has it all figured out and da 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 da. And in so many ways, I'm so beyond blessed. Like, that's what's hard, is that I'm so thankful and I'm so blessed, and so many prayers have been answered for me. But then on the other side of things, I've realized that all of these things that I prayed for and thought would make me happy actually don't, and that I still am struggling. And there's so much that comes with what we ask for. We think like, if I just get this promotion, if I just can follow my dreams and make money from what I want to do, if I can just be in this relationship or whatever it is, I'll be happy. But like, we don't realize that on the other end of that, there are things like, in having your own business, there is a downside. There are hard parts of having your own business. There are hard parts of a relationship. There are so many hard parts. And obviously, I mean, the elephant in the room, you guys all know, anyone who knows me and is listening to this, who probably clicked on this episode, my boyfriend is an artist, a very successful artist. And in the last pretty much year and a half, his life has drastically changed, and mine has naturally drastically changed with his. And I'm in a completely different position than I was before. So not only do I feel like my life is so much less relatable, I'm in a position where I have to be a lot more careful about what I share online. I feel like before it was just like I could say anything and share anything with you guys, and that was super freeing and amazing. And I feel like I was in a lot more relatable of a situation. And now I'm not. And I also have to be really careful about what I say and what I choose to share, because I am in a public relationship with someone who is, has a lot of eyes on him. And so I have to walk with a lot more carefulness. And not only that, but now the struggles that I go through I feel very much more unique to my situation. And not a lot of people are in my situation. So I feel as though like I can't share things because you guys don't get it. And you guys will just feel like almost frustrated at me because people look into my situation and they envy what I have, and they envy my life because of the situation I'm in with my boyfriend. And if I share my struggles or ways that I'm hurting or certain things, I feel that I'll be invalidated or judged or misunderstood, and that you guys or whoever's listening will think that I'm not grateful. So it's really, really tricky. And I feel like it's really tested my ability to have this podcast, because this podcast is so centered around vulnerability and around struggle. And now it's a lot harder to really feel like I can be vulnerable and honest, and for all those reasons. So I hope that makes sense, and I just have to remind myself, I think that oftentimes we really think that what we go through is so unique and that no one will understand. But I think even if someone is in a different situation than you can be going through a similar feeling or a similar struggle, even if you're not in the exact same situation. And I think oftentimes there are people that are struggling with similar things as you, but it just doesn't feel like it. And I feel like I'm in that situation. I almost have felt so like just silenced by myself. Like I've just had a hard time breaking down those walls and knowing the appropriate way to do it, because my life is so different now, and it forever will be. because of the situation I'm in and the relationship that I'm in and the success that he's had, which again is such a blessing. So yeah, that's my little intro to me kind of just talking. I hope you guys understand. And even if you don't, I hope that you can have compassion for me and try to meet me where I'm at. And I hope that you guys still enjoy this podcast, which obviously there's so many things that I'm still going to talk about that will be relatable. But I think I felt like I can't talk about myself and my struggles because people don't get it. But I'm going to honor myself and just try to do that, because I feel like if I don't do that with you guys, I feel like we're not connected. And I feel like this is all about like this community that we've built and these people that you guys obviously listen to me and hear me, and I see your DMs and emails and messages, and it's a space where I want us to both feel like we can like be connected and vulnerable. And so I feel like part of that is me kind of stepping out and talking about some of this, and that kind of leading into my next point, which is, where have I been? When I started this podcast, I was so consistent. Every single week I was releasing episodes, and it was amazing. I loved it so much, and I had so much passion in me. I had so much desire to do it, and I just was so lit up. I was so on fire for the podcast, and I loved it, and I felt like it was so, not that it was easy work, but it was easy to sit down and talk to you guys. And I think that now, because I've walked into this new season of life, not only am I so extremely busy, but on top of being busy, I don't have the same passion and desire, because I'm wrestling with everything I'm going through and feeling like there's just been a weird disconnect for me. I think, and I don't know if you guys feel like this, but I feel like the longer you don't do something, the harder it is to go back to. It's like anytime I sit down and I start actually filming and talking, I always am like, oh, I love this. Like, why do I always have such a hard time? But I feel like the anticipation gets to me, and I think I just get really overwhelmed and stressed out with feeling like I'm not doing enough, and feeling like I'm not bringing you guys enough value, and feeling truly, I think at my core, feeling incapable of this, and feeling incapable of being what I want to be for you guys and for this podcast. And yeah, I think it's just weird. I think I think we live in such a unique space right now for a lot of reasons, but what I'm trying to say is that I think we live in a society and world where there's so much pressure on all of us to be something, to be someone, to be great, to be big. And I think that puts an expectation on ourselves that is really high. And then when we feel like we don't meet that, we just don't do anything, because fear of failure, fear of not being enough, fear of not doing it well enough. And so I feel like when I started the podcast, there weren't as many podcasts, and now there's so many freaking podcasts. And so it's like, I don't want to just be another podcast. I want to be something different for you guys. And sometimes I just feel like I don't know if I have what it takes, which sounds so dumb, but these are real thoughts and things that I go through in my mind. And so where have I been? I have been really busy. I have been really tired. I have been really overwhelmed with life in a lot of good ways and in a lot of bad ways. And I haven't had the time or the energy to give this podcast what I want to give it. And I'm very excited to be back and be here with you guys and work towards getting back to the space that I feel like I used to feel when I did this. And yeah, I'm just trying to figure it all out. It's like, I think I'm having what do they call it? Oh, a quarter life crisis. I think I'm having a quarter life crisis, questioning everything, doubting myself, having a really hard time loving myself, feeling calm and peaceful in a lot of ways, more than I've felt in a long time, but also just different. I feel very different. I almost feel like stranger in my own body. And life is super confusing. And I think when you get to your mid-20s, it just like life gets really real and your age gets really real, but you feel like you're taking steps back, if that makes sense. I think it's just scary because as you get older, you feel more pressure to be, to do, to have. And when you don't, and you're simultaneously knowing that you're getting older and you're actually feeling like you're failing more, or you're taking steps back, or you're still not figuring out the secret to life, it feels way heavier. It's like life keeps being stressful and messy and confusing, and you keep feeling like a kid, but your age is getting more serious and more serious and more serious. And so it's just like, quarter life crisis, you know? Do you know? But at the same time, it's crazy because your frontal lobe develops. So like, my frontal lobe is developed, I guess. I'm 25, guys. I'm going to be 26 in January. And in a lot of ways, I feel good. But in a lot of ways, I feel different and weird. So yeah, that's where I've been, guys. I've been overwhelmed and confused, and in good ways and bad ways, and life's been crazy. And I obviously have been in between houses, and we just moved to Nashville, and we bought a house here, which is awesome and crazy and all the things. And so it's just been a lot. It's been a lot. And this has kind of taken a little bit of the back burner for a lot of reasons. But yeah, so that's where I've been. I know that doesn't really answer your question, but I hope it does. I hope it does. Coco got groomed today, and she looks so freaking cute. Oh, also on that note, I also was obviously doing elephants in the kitchen. So I was doing this every other week, but now exciting news. And I'm saying this on camera to hold myself accountable. I'm going to be dropping podcasts every single week. We're going to get back to that. And I'm still going to be doing elephants in the kitchen, but, I'm going to do it a little differently, and I'm traveling the next little bit to go on tour with my boyfriend, which is so exciting and fun. So I'm going to take a little teeny step back from that. I'm still doing it, but we're going to be doing the podcast every week for now, because I just feel like that's what I want to do. But hey, that's being in your mid-20s, is like questioning, second guessing everything you're doing, and like, wait, should I be doing this? Should I be doing that? What do I even want to do? What am I doing? Why am I doing it? What's the purpose of doing it? I think when you're younger, you just do stuff. But I think as I've gotten older, I've been like, okay, but like, why am I doing this? Like, why do I, like, everything I do, I'm questioning everything I do, how I do it, why I do it, and if I want to do it. Because I think when you do get older, when you hit your frontal lobe developing, your mid-20s, quarter life crisis, you start to be like, wait, what am I doing? Why am I doing it? What's the purpose of doing it? And do I actually want to do it? And you kind of start to limit things that you don't want to do. And I think I always started this podcast with pure intentions and really excited about what I was doing and sharing, this whole goal and purpose I felt, which is, vulnerability creates freedom. And I started with such a passion, but then it felt like I had to do it. And then I wanted to be relatable. And then I felt like I wanted to be successful. And I felt all these things. And I'm now in a position where I want to do this because I love it. And I want to do it because I'm doing something that matters, and that matters to me, and that has meaning. And so it's changing the way that I see it and how I want to do it and what I want to talk about. And I want there to be meaning behind it. And, I'm just trying to figure it all out. I don't know, I just don't know. And that kind of leads into, something. And again, I'm more than happy to talk about it, because I want to be honest with you guys and vulnerable, because that's why we're here. I am obviously in a position now where my boyfriend is financially in a good position, and he provides for me, and I don't have the financial burden that I've always had to take care of myself. I have someone who now helps take care of me financially. I obviously still make money through podcast stuff, sponsorships, brand deals. So I still work and make money, but I do not have the full financial burden that I used to have. And not only that, but I'm obviously being taken care of more than I need, like for more than I need. For example, I have this beautiful house that I'm living in that my boyfriend and me bought with his money. Cheers. And these beautiful chairs and rugs and yeah. And all of that to say, I'm finally in a position where I don't need to make a ton of money and be successful and provide for myself. Not that I don't love working hard, not that I don't love working. And again, that's what's so hard about sharing all this is I want to be vulnerable and honest, but I don't want to be judged. And I have to remember that it's okay if people don't understand me, and it's okay if people judge me, because I can only share so much with you guys. And so some of you are only seeing part of the picture and you're not seeing the full picture. So if I share little pieces, then maybe you'll think whatever, but I have to be okay with that. I've never been in a position where I don't have to stress about money. So now that I'm in that position, my motives for doing things are different. And I've seen that there is a money motive in things that I've done in the past. I mean, and again, I've always loved the podcast, but part of why I did it is I wanted to be successful and I wanted to be able to quit my job. And that was amazing. But I believe, that I'm in a position now, and I think God has put me in this position, and I'm so grateful for him. And I think it's taught me a lot and taught me about, hey, what are you going to do now? What's your motive in what you do? Why do you do what you do? And at the end of the day, there's nothing wrong with wanting to make money and whatever. But I'm just saying, I think I'm in a position now where I feel like I'm really being questioned, and I'm really questioning myself. Why am I doing what I'm doing, and what am I doing it for? And I'm trying to find what that is. And for me, it's always been, and it will always be, shedding light on the dark spaces that people don't talk about, so we can feel more freedom, we can feel less alone, and we can make changes and grow and all these things. And to be a voice for the voiceless. And that's what I want to do. And that's my goal. But I'm trying to figure out what that looks like for me now, because I don't have anything in the way in a sense, which is awesome. Yeah, I don't know. I struggle with all of it. I do. I want to go into our next thing. I moved. Big, huge deal. Me and David were living in California. When I first left Arizona, when I was working at the shoe store, was when I got my first sponsorship for the podcast, Olipop. And I was able to quit my job because I was able to make as much as I was making at my job, which was literally the biggest blessing. Thank you, Jesus. And I moved into a little studio apartment in LA, and David was living with 2 roommates. And then David's career took off very shortly after, and we traveled everywhere. It was crazy. And then after that, we came back to LA. I went back to my studio apartment, and I rented that studio apartment for almost 6 months. And I only physically stayed in the apartment 4 days, which is crazy. And so I ended up deciding to get out of that lease, and me and David ended up moving in together, which was super not ideal, considering the fact that we're not married. And I feel like that's something I've had a lot of people ask me about. And, it's hard for me to talk about because there's so much that I, truly just don't feel comfortable sharing. And there's so much to all of it that even if I tried to sit here and explain it to you guys, you wouldn't be able to fully comprehend and understand all the reasons and things that go into why we're not married yet. But all of that to say, that definitely was not a part of my plan in life or in general. And not something that I am super proud of, and not something that I'm super stoked about. But that is the situation that I'm in. And and I'm figuring it out with David and with Jesus. And yeah, obviously we were in LA living together. And then, we bought a house in Nashville, and I love Nashville. It's the best. I love LA too, but I never really saw myself staying in LA long term. I think Nashville is much more my pace. I grew up in Utah. I'm not equipped to the craziness of LA. I love it. It's awesome. I would live there again, but I do love Nashville. I think it's awesome. But yeah, and now we're here and we bought this house, and this is something I did want to talk about because I think it's been one of the coolest and hardest things. And that is walking into a season of blessing and also walking into a season of permanency. For anyone who doesn't know, I grew up with drug addict parents, and I literally went to 8 different elementary schools. Like, I have moved more times in my life than I could count on my fingers. And after moving that many times as a kid and through high school, I got married and moved multiple times when I was married because my marriage failed, and I was separated on and off, and then eventually got divorced. And all of that to say, I have lived a lot of places. My parents never owned a home. I've never had a place that I could really call home. I've never had anything permanent, truly. Even my marriage wasn't permanent. And all I've ever wanted is security, stability, and permanency. I think I've craved that forever and desired that for forever. And I've never had it. And now I'm in Nashville in a house that me and David bought. Bought meaning there's no expiration date on it. I've never moved into somewhere not having an expiration date that I've known about or not known about. I've always been in rentals. I've always been staying with someone. I mean, I can't think of the last time that I've ever really truly unpacked and decorated ever, because I've never been anywhere long enough to breathe and to settle. Having that now has been the biggest blessing, and at the same time the biggest challenge, because it's so unfamiliar for me, and it's scary. And it's also scary because I think because of what I've been through and because of my trauma and because of truly my abandonment issues, I just never think anything good is going to stay good. When something good happens in my life, I feel like there's an expiration date for it. And I feel like it's going to be ripped underneath my feet and taken from me. It's like anything good feels too good to be true and too good to last. I think super, super sadly, I have learned through what I've been through with so many things, but specifically my divorce, even the highest level of security, commitment, safety, actually doesn't mean that it's going to work out and then it won't be taken from you. Marriage is the closest thing. That is the most sure thing you should be able to count on, right? And it's kind of sad because it's kind of I've lost my hope in anything ever actually being able to work out, because at the end of the day, it could also just not. There's no true way to know, and I mean, obviously it doesn't help that me and David aren't married. That makes it so much harder to move into a new house together and try to start a new life. But even if we were married, in the back of my mind, I would know that things could just change and it can all fall apart. Anything can fall apart. And that's just kind of a really hard reality to accept. And I think you have to when you become an adult. And it's really, really unsettling, but it's also freeing because it's like you just can't control the outcome of anything, and you can plan and prepare and do everything right always, but it just doesn't mean that things are going to work out in life, and it doesn't mean that anything's necessarily permanent. And that stings. It's hard. Moving into this new season has been, just unsettling in a lot of ways, really exciting in a lot of ways. Super grateful, super stoked. But it's been hard, and I think it's just brought up a lot of trauma for me. It's been actually hard. But again, hard to feel like I can say that, because looking in, I mean, even myself, 5 years ago, I'd be looking at me being like, is she seriously complaining? Like, why is she complaining? She literally gets to do what she loves for a job. She has an amazing boyfriend, a beautiful, nice house, and why is she stressing? But it's just not that simple. And I've always said this, but I think we often tend to invalidate other people's struggles because ours feel worse, or vice versa. We invalidate our struggles because others tend to seem worse. But we are all struggling. And if I've learned anything, it's that no matter what season I've been in my life, when I've been living with my parents who are doing drugs, and I have no money and all these different things, or when I was financially stressed and alone in Arizona working a job that I didn't like, and all these different things, and when I was divorced and going through my divorce, all these different things. I look at every season of my life, whether the circumstances have been good or bad, and I struggle in each one of them in a different way, even if my circumstances are good. Does that make sense? Which is crazy. You don't think it would be like that, but it is. So yeah, this season has been really humbling for me in a lot of ways. And just to kind of clear the air, on this whole living together before marriage, obviously me and David are Christian, and I do not want to speak on his behalf, but I'll speak on behalf of myself and say living together before marriage is not something that I or we believe in necessarily. We obviously believe in the Bible, the Word of God, and believe that you should stay pure before you're married. And we are definitely not and have never been perfect, but that is what we believe in. And I think that it's very untraditional to do it this way. And again, I'm not trying to judge anyone who does do it this way at all. But it's not something that I necessarily want for my life, and I don't think he does either. But it is the situation that we're in. And I love that man, and we're figuring it out. But, people ask, why are you doing that? I thought you were Christian. And for those people, I just want to say, I am Christian. I believe in Jesus. I believe in the Word of God. I believe that it is the Word of God, and the Bible is, and I believe that we should live our lives like Jesus, and also, live for him and be obedient to him. But, I think oftentimes it's easy to look in and judge a situation until you're in it. I used to look at divorced people and be like, oh, I would never do that, and I used to look at people who lived together before marriage and think, I wouldn't ever do that. And here I am. And the Lord continues to humble me. And just life continues to humble me. But on the other end, I think I don't ever want to be a bad example to you guys or to anyone. And living together before marriage isn't something that I would ever encourage someone to do. I don't think it's the best. I think you obviously can do it. And I think there is a way to stay pure. But I don't think that it is the best way. I think it's hard. I think it's uncomfortable. Personally, I don't think it's the way that it should go. And it has been a lot of those things, because it's really hard to start a life with someone and, all the things. So it's complicated. But for everyone who keeps asking, I hope that clears the air on that. Obviously I'm not going to get on here and share all the depths of our relationship and circumstances in life around us. But I hear you. What else do we have, guys? I've been talking a lot, honestly. I probably need to stop talking. Just wanted to share with you guys because it's hard. I am starting therapy again, which I was recently in therapy, but it was kind of like inconsistent and not superficial. But like I'm gonna attempt to see a new therapist on Friday of next week. And I'm kind of dreading it. I'm kind of scary. It feels like a lot to restart with someone new. And my old therapist that I love doesn't see people anymore. And it makes me sad. So I'm starting therapy, which is scary, in a new place. I'm in a weird season where a lot of the things I thought I knew and thought I wanted and thought I was are changing. And it's a little scary and uncomfortable. And I think, I don't know, it's so funny because I feel like you talk to older people and they're kind of like, oh, like they'll tell you all this advice and like, you see certain things that older people do and you kind of are like, well, why? Like, I don't get it. Like, I see it this way. Like, I think as kids, we see the world so black and white, and then you become an adult and you start to see things a lot more gray, because life happens. And I feel like I'm kind of living that right now, and it's kind of uncomfortable and scary. Like, there's just so many things like I used to think like, and I just have felt really humbled. And I think we think there's like a finish line always, like we're gonna get to a certain point and feel a certain way, or we're gonna master something. Like I used to think like, oh, like once you solve something once, like it's solved and it's good. Like I thought when I first became a Christian, like I'm Christian, I'm on fire for God, I'll always be on fire for God, it's always gonna be this way. And now I've struggled a lot, and I love Jesus, but I've struggled to be disciplined and obedient, and I've struggled to learn how to like be a Christian long term outside of, obviously I'm a Christian, but like how to walk in my walk with God as life ebbs and flows, like how to be, how to do, same thing with habits, same thing with routine, same thing with taking care of myself, how to be and how to do, and how to manage your to-do list, and how to take care of your body, and how to, it's like this big balancing game, if that makes sense, that I feel like, there's no like finish line. Like you're constantly changing and growing and learning and failing. And it's like, that's always happening. And so it's like learning to love yourself throughout that while holding yourself accountable is just an interesting thing. And obviously I've very much openly talked about my therapy journey and, everything I've learned. And, I think that was so empowering for me because I was going through so much, and, my trauma was affecting me so much more than I realized. And then when I started therapy, I started to see things clearly. And it was so empowering to feel like I had things under control, at least myself. And I learned boundaries, and I learned what healthiness was. And I learned, how to kind of protect myself and, all these things. And all that information I learned is so valuable and special. And I'm so thankful for it. But then life happens and you realize that it's just not that black and white sometimes. Even though you can still implement those things and use those things, it's tricky. Like, let me give you guys an example. I've kind of started to have a better relationship with my mom, which has been awesome. But it's really tricky to navigate because you guys know my mom's an addict. I've had a really rocky relationship with her. She's been in and out of my life because ever since I started therapy, it's been really hard to have a relationship with her, knowing what I know, and also trying to protect my emotional well-being, setting boundaries, different things like that. And as I've gotten older, it's like I do want to have boundaries. I do want to protect myself. I do want to have healthiness, but there's also kind of like a love and a grace and an acceptance for just who she is and where she's at, and learning to trust her again, knowing she very well could let me down, learning to have a relationship with her, knowing that it's not going to be exactly the way I want. I can't put, I can't put my faith in her fully as a mother, but I want to still have a relationship with her like a mother. It's very tricky and it's very confusing. And I think I just used to be like really hard-headed about it. And now I'm just like, yeah, my relationship with my mom isn't the healthiest, but I want to have one because she's my mom. But how do I do that while also implementing all the healthy things that I've learned? Overall, I've just been feeling a little lost and numb and confused and curious. And yeah, I think I'm just changing and trying to continue to be what I need to be for me to show up for myself. And to be a compassionate, loving person and do what matters and do something that matters. But I think I used to think that we ought to be big. Like, I have to be something. I have to do something. I have to be someone bigger, better, And I think I'm realizing, like, it's okay to be small. Not everyone's supposed to be something and do something big. Because I think sometimes that can it can cloud just the raw and pureness of just being who you are. And there are people who are going to be doing things bigger, better, whatever. And that's awesome. But there also is a space for both. And I think they all work together in the grand scheme of things and, God's plan and God's kingdom. I think he's given us all different gifts. So I think I'm just learning who and what I want to be. And, yeah, super fun. I think self-doubt too is a big thing, and just, failing, letting yourself down, wanting to be something or do something and not following through. It's hard, and just failing at things you want to be and do. And I think I'm just experiencing that in a lot of ways. And life's just a lot different than I thought it was going to be. And it's so beautiful and awesome, but it's just different. And I'm just figuring out what that means and how to be, I don't know if any of this will compute, and I don't know if any of this matters to you guys. And I want to get back to regular scheduled programming next week. I have some fun topics I want to talk about that are much less about me and just about some elephants in the room that I want to talk about and dive into, and have some guests planned and all that good stuff. But I felt like we just had to start off with just talking, me and you, and me just sharing with you guys where I'm at and that I'm struggling. And, yeah. And, but yeah, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Thanks for supporting me, guys. Thanks for being there with me through the inconsistency. I'm so excited to be back. I'm so excited for this podcast. I really have felt more motivated and inspired and excited than I have about it. So please, leave me any comments, DMs, messages of things that you guys want me to talk about that you feel like aren't being talked about, and I'd love to talk about them. And yeah, I just love you guys. Thank you for being here for me. Anyone who's listening to this, who's an OG listener, I freaking love you. And I'm so thankful you're here. And I'm excited for the future of this podcast. And I think I just need to trust God and trust that it's going to work out the way that it's supposed to, align my heart in the right place, and also just bring you guys into it. So yes, I love you guys very much. You guys know the drill. If you want to support me, you can share this podcast on your story, leave a review. I love reviews. Leave me some stars. You could leave me 5-star. That would be cool. But you don't have to. Share it with a friend. All the things. And yeah, please pray for me. If you're a believer, please pray for me. Pray for direction, peace of mind, clarity, joy for me. And I pray that for you. And I hope that for you, anyone who's listening. I love you guys so very much. And I'll close this episode out by saying, my name is Nicole. What elephants are in your room? And I will talk to you guys next week.